They say the forest holds memories, memories older than us, darker than our eyes can see. My name is Claire Holloway, and in the spring of 2017, I was just another senior student from Portland, Oregon, counting down the final days before graduation. That spring, our school organized what they called a reflection retreat, 3 days at Silver Falls State Park, deep in the wilderness. No phones, no signal, no power. Just us, the trees, and our thoughts. I remember the bus ride out there. 30 of us, laughing, singing, full of life. It was sunny, the kind of Oregon sun you don't take for granted. Mr. Hanley, our homeroom teacher, sat in the front with Ms. Lydon, the school counselor. They said this would be good for us, an escape from the noise, from screens, from pressure. We were split into groups and assigned to old wooden cabins. Ours was the furthest from the main trail, cabin 6, nestled at the edge of a pine-covered ridge. It creaked with every step. The air smelled like wet bark and decay. The first night was ordinary. We sat around the bonfire, roasting marshmallows. James told ghost stories. Amanda rolled her eyes. Marissa, always quiet, stared at the stars, clutching her sketchbook. It wasn't until midnight that something felt wrong. Marissa had gone to use the outhouse. 15 minutes passed. Then 30. Amanda joked, maybe she fell in. But after an hour, we knew something was off. Mr. Hanley grabbed his flashlight, and we started searching. Soft forest ambience begins to build, leaves rustling. Add faint heartbeat effect. We found her under a pine tree, about 200 feet from the cabin. She was sitting upright, like she'd been placed there. Her eyes were empty. Her hands had deep, symmetrical scratches. When we tried to speak to her, she didn't respond. She just kept staring. That night, no one slept. At around 3:15 a.m., I heard the front door of our cabin creak open, on its own. I sat up, and saw Mr. Hanley walking outside. I followed, asking if he'd heard anything. He looked pale. Something whispered my name, he said. In my voice. The whisper came again. This time, I heard it too. It was like someone mimicking us, but wrong. Distorted, like a cassette tape being stretched. The trees felt alive that night. Watching. The next morning, Marissa finally spoke, just one sentence to her counselor, it knew my name. Brief silence. Ambient fades slightly. Narrator shifts tone to calm but chilling. She never returned to school. Last I heard, she was in a psychiatric facility. The doctors said she wasn't dangerous, but she refused to be near any trees. Wouldn't look at bark. Couldn't sleep without lights on. Cabin 6 was removed from future trips. Silver Falls still welcomes campers, but local rangers avoid that ridge line now. Some say it's superstition. But I remember what I heard. What I felt, and I never went back to the woods again. My name is Thomas Gray. I used to be a history teacher in East London. And this story, it's haunted me for over a decade. It was December 2012, when I led a group of 24 high school students on a trip to Prague. A cultural excursion, meant to explore medieval architecture, World War history, and Eastern European culture. We stayed in an old hotel just off the Charles Bridge, on a street that always seemed too quiet for a capital city. The kind of place where the wind whips between the narrow alleys and old bricks seemed to whisper. One of my students, Adam Weller, was a 17-year-old with an eye for the overlooked. He carried his camera everywhere, capturing broken lampposts, reflections in puddles, cracks in the cobblestone. He rarely spoke unless spoken to, but there was something about his silence that felt observant, not withdrawn. Our first 2 days were uneventful. Museums. Cafes. Photos. The kids were happy. We visited the astronomical clock, the Jewish quarter, and Adam was particularly drawn to the Gothic towers near the Vltava River. On the third night, everything changed. I woke up to a knock on my door at 6:20 a.m. It was Adam's roommate, Jordan. "Sir, Adam's not in bed," he said. "He never came back last night." I didn't panic, at first. Teenagers sneak out all the time. But when we checked with the hotel staff, we found security footage that chilled me to my core. Adam had exited the hotel lobby at exactly 2:47 a.m. He was wearing his coat, his camera bag, but no gloves, no hat, not something you do in Prague winter. Most disturbing of all, he kept looking behind him, as if someone were following, but the footage showed no one else. The police were called. We filed a missing persons report. The hotel locked the exits. I called Adam's parents, trying to sound calm when I felt like vomiting. Then, 3 days later, something arrived at the hotel. A small package addressed to room 304, Adam's room. Inside was his camera, his passport, and a note written in a strange script. Slanted, looping letters none of us recognized. Experts later confirmed it wasn't any known language. The last picture on the memory card showed Adam sitting on the ledge of a bridge, legs dangling over the icy water. His face was pale, eyes open wide, as though he were in a trance, or seeing something beyond human comprehension. The timestamp was 3:09 a.m., the same morning he disappeared. No one ever saw him again. In the months that followed, whispers began to surface. A Czech janitor who worked in the hotel mentioned a legend, the man with no eyes. A spirit or entity said to haunt tourists who stay too close to the water. A trickster who takes the form of someone you trust, someone who calls your name. Adam's case was never closed. His body was never found. And in the years since, 4 other tourists, each young, each artistic, have vanished within 5 blocks of that hotel. I don't teach anymore. I couldn't face another student's photo on a missing persons board. But every now and then, I visit Adam's website, which his parents keep online. His photographs are still there, still haunting. Still watching. Sometimes I think he's still out there. Not alive, maybe, but not fully gone either. In Prague, the streets remember. The stones echo, and something waits near the water, looking for the next lonely soul who dares to see too much. Some stories stay with you long after you've packed up and gone home. My name is Jabulani Dubé, and in 2009, I was a teacher at a public high school in Johannesburg, South Africa. That winter, we took a group of 32 students on a week-long camping trip into the Drakensberg Mountains. It was meant to be educational, nature, geography, bonding. Nothing fancy. Just tents, fresh air, and freedom. We set up camp in a wide valley at the foot of Cathedral Peak. It was breathtaking. Rolling mist, endless sky, the songs of jackals at dusk. Each group of 4 students had their own tent, arranged in a crescent shape around the main bonfire area. My tent was off to the side, near the teacher's supply table. Everything was fine, until night 3. At around 1:30 a.m., I was awoken by the sound of soft crying. Not screaming. Not panic. Just low, continuous sobbing. I stepped out with my flashlight and found Thandi, one of my students, standing barefoot in the frost, eyes wide, shaking. "She's here again," she whispered. The girl. When I asked her to explain, she said that a girl had been standing between the tents, just beyond the fire pit. She was wearing an old-school uniform, not like theirs, long sleeves, muddy hem, old-fashioned fabric. Her hair was wet. She didn't speak, just cried. And when Thandi called out to her, she turned and ran into the shadows. I assumed it was a dream. Maybe a trick of the fog. Maybe another student playing games. But that morning, 5 other girls told the same story. Same uniform. Same girl. Same tears. Later that day, I spoke to an old ranger who maintained the trails nearby. When I told him what the students had seen, he went quiet. Then he said something I'll never forget. 15 years ago, another school camped here. Same valley. Same formation. A girl named Sibangile went missing on the third night. Just vanished. They never found her. Only her trunk and school badge. The fourth night was worse. Tents were found unzipped from the outside. There were muddy, barefoot prints circling two of them. Not adult feet, small ones, like a child. One of the boys claimed someone whispered his name, over and over, right outside his tent flap. When he peeked, no one was there. Just the wind. I hardly slept. The fifth night, I sat by the fire all night long, watching the mist. Around 3 a.m., I saw movement. A shape, a girl, drenched, slowly walking between the tents. She looked not real. Her feet left no sound. Her skin looked faded. I blinked, and she was gone. When we returned to Johannesburg, one of the students, Asanda, found something in her bag, an old, rusted school badge. It wasn't from our school. The name engraved on it was almost faded, but we could still make out, Sibangile N. No one had seen her touch it. No one knew how it got there. That camp is no longer used. The district quietly removed it from the school itinerary. They said it was due to safety upgrades. But I know what we saw. Some souls don't want to be forgotten. And some campsites never truly let go.